Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Reba Beeson, General Counsel with AlphaPoint, to discuss regulatory-related matters in the crypto news cycle. Reba, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill, for having me today.
All right, you got it. And let's talk about policy here. How can U.S. policy and the regulatory framework support the growth and innovation of the crypto industry in the U.S.?
Well, first, let's start our conversation by looking at some of the market dynamics. As you know, and you've already referenced, we are experiencing an increasing growth in the crypto industry and in financial activities being embraced by retail investors and increasingly the traditional community of institutional investors. So some of the data is showing this trend. The number of crypto users has doubled from 100 million to 200 million just in 4 months earlier this year. So that comprises now more than 220 million crypto users globally. And this growth, of course, has been met with increasing scrutiny by US policymakers.
Right. And on the flip side of that, how can the crypto industry support sound policymaking actions and be able to work with regulators?
Well, the infrastructure bill is one good example. The industry had tried to support the amendment to the crypto bill and the provision that dramatically strengthens the tax reporting requirements that were imposed upon brokers. That has not passed. However, the industry continues to be very proactive in working on how one would define broker for purposes of these rules. So there's an example of collaboration between the industry and policymakers, in this case, Congress. Certainly, we will also continue to see increased collaboration and an interest in working with others, such as the Treasury Department. As you probably know, there's now new reporting requirements. They have been discussed to be included in the budget reconciliation bill.
So what's happening here with tax reporting initiatives? Do you think this is something that could be resolved in the near term, or do regulators still have to understand more how the industry works?
I think it's going to be a long haul. First of all, whatever gets passed in Congress, whether it be in the infrastructure bill or now in the new budget reconciliation bill with the new tax reporting requirements proposed or being proposed, they have to be implemented by the Treasury Department and by rules then that are in addition implemented by the IRS. So this might take a very long time. First of all, the effective date won't be until 2023. But Treasury regs will really have to be helping to define what these reporting requirements are and what they mean.
Right. And Reba, to wrap up here, I guess my final question is, how will the infrastructure bill impact the crypto space? Because once we saw the failure of it to get passed, I saw so much on social media that it doesn't matter, Bitcoin, crypto, it's not going to impact the space at all. We saw what happened with Bitcoin since then. The price has taken off. So do you think there will be an impact?
Well, if we look back in history, let's just take, for example, the enhanced reporting requirements that were implemented around 2010. And those were driven by the concern that US taxpayers who had offshore accounts weren't properly reporting and paying tax to the US Treasury. And so those rules initially were a difficult, let's say difficult for taxpayers to absorb. But then over time, the financial industry is so resilient, and investors are always rallying around wanting to invest in what they consider good investments for their own portfolio or for their own long-term objectives, or even just for short-term objectives. So I think that over time, this blip will ease itself into what I would call more of the mainstream investment community and become more incorporated into the way that the institutional community actually operates.
All right, Reba, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.